loyalty missions were some of the best and most interesting quests in Mass Effect 2, and after understandably being absent in Mass Effect 3, fans were excited to hear that loyalty missions would be returning to Mass Effect Andromeda, with all the new squad mates making their first appearances. Hi, this is Matt from BioWare Follower, and today I'm going to be discussing whether we feel like the loyalty missions were done right, and the comparison they have to Mass Effect 2. So first off, personally, I feel like the loyalty missions should feel as if they're somewhere in between a main mission and a side quest. They should add character depth, background and extra content with more dialogue to get to know that character better and to improve relations with them. So to answer the question of whether we feel like they were done right, it's much easier for me to say yes and no and then expand from there. So let's first off start by talking about the similarities from the loyalty missions in Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect Andromeda. Now there may be a few exceptions, but the loyalty missions follow the trend of usually helping the squad mate find an object or save or kill someone they know, all the while having an antagonist of their own. Let me explain. You have Merryweather, Arone, Callow, Sidonis, Vito, you get the picture. And whilst this isn't a bad thing, because that's what is expected of a group of soldiers and mercenaries, this similarity helps these missions continue the love of squad loyalties. Plus, off the top of my head, there's not a ton of other routes you can go down. So comparing the missions, they share similarities to what we love from Mass Effect 2, but each of the missions in Andromeda seem to add something extra or different for players to enjoy. So let me briefly explain on this. In Vetra's mission, you get to hack into security footage and use that tactic to clear the enemies in the next room. Liam's loyalty not only brought us some hilarious lines with a Star Wars reference, but also a very different level design than what we're used to due to the constant shift in the ship. And the other missions felt relatively different to each other due to such a change in scenery and the environment across them planets. One of the biggest differences from Mass Effect 2 to the loyalty missions in Andromeda is sadly the lack of consequences of screwing up that loyalty mission. Now this could be a little early to jump the boat, seeing as Andromeda may possibly be a series in the future, who knows. The impacts could come in later, as witnessed by the original trilogy from Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2 for example. But there should have been some option to fail the loyalty and not earn the squad mate's trust by the end of the mission. Now as Mass Effect fans all know, the lack of loyalty of your squad before approaching the suicide mission in Mass Effect 2 could result in a possible death of that crew member, and this could be achieved by not attempting their loyalty or straight up failing it, like Fane's loyalty, where you have to try and stop Kolyat in an assassination. So why is this relevant? Well, the impact just isn't there in the loyalty missions of Andromeda. You can straight up not do the missions, and there is no consequences at all, maybe other than Chora's, because the Asari arc is kind of important to the initiative. There is also no possibility of failure on these missions, and the squad mates being loyal does not affect the game in any particular way. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that the loyalty missions were bad, because this doesn't stand alone as evidence. And I'm sure fans can agree that this was a step down though from the ones we had in Mass Effect 2. But to shed some light on this negativity, you can't really kill off some of the squad mates in the first game of a potential future series. A small consequence would have been nice, but it's understandable why BioWare didn't want us to go full Terminator on our crew, as well as the fact that Ryder can't be as renegade as Shepard could have become in the earlier trilogy. So looking past the impact and relations these have to Mass Effect 2, we can safely say that the loyalty missions did increase the interaction between Ryder and his squad, and from this we got to learn a lot more about that character's backstory, personality and lifestyle. And an important one for this has to be Giles' loyalty, as if we didn't get to learn about all of his backstory, about him, his family and the Angara, then what's the point in having a new race? One other thing to note is that there are fewer loyalty quests in Andromeda, especially if you include all DLC squad mates in Mass Effect 2. This means that each loyalty mission has to kind of pull its own weight without having to rely on one mission alone for its success. So let's use this as an example from Mass Effect 2. Some of the loyalty missions were amazing, like Garrus, Thane's and Tali's, while some lacked depth and enjoyment, like Jacob's and Zaid's. But this didn't feel as bad due to the alternative loyalty missions. In Andromeda, however, it's arguable, but each loyalty mission felt rather enjoyable, and while some lacked character development, like possibly Liam's, it was made up for in another sense, like humour and the combat style due to the way the mission was kind of set out. So from a personal opinion, the loyalty missions were done pretty well in Andromeda. So trying to sum everything up, the loyalty missions were yet again some of the best missions in Mass Effect Andromeda, and they did feel like they were somewhere in between the main missions and the pesky side quests. Whether the lack of impact upon these missions is a game changer for you or not, voice your opinion on that in the comments below. But it's hard to hate these missions or not find them a laugh or enjoyable. So evidence wise, based on a small study by the community votes of those who watch our videos, we asked via a poll as to what your favourite loyalty missions were across the franchise from Mass Effect 2 and in Andromeda, as seen in my last video. PB's, Liam's and Drax's loyalty quests reached the top 10, and sadly the other 3 fell short, so there's a mixed bag here. As I've been including my opinion throughout this video, I will here also, and I actually found Cora's, Giles and Vetra's to be the more enjoyable ones, so maybe others saw it this way as well, but them 3 didn't get as many votes due to some of the trilogy loyalty missions shuffling the order of your preferences. I'd like to thank you all for watching this video. Don't forget, if you did enjoy it, then a like would be greatly appreciated. And if you are new here or want to stick around for plenty more Mass Effect and BioWare content, then don't forget to subscribe as well. You guys are all awesome, and we'll see you around, or in the next video. Goodbye everyone.